Welcome back to the 𝒙𝚪 podcast. As always, I am your girl, 𝒮𝓾𝓾𝓾𝓾. Today, I am here with the beautiful Ashley, Miss Spiritually Fit. So today, we're going to get into just some things in regards to developing healthy boundaries and setting and establishing healthy boundaries that really helps us to progress for the future. So it's crazy because I would say that I met this woman out and about, and I really didn't know that, this relationship would bring forth this. But the first conversation that I had with this woman, I could tell that it was needed. And she didn't even know that when I met her, that I was going through personal things. And that day, I had said to myself, God, whoever is supposed to be in my life, or bring forth the people who are supposed to be in my circle or in my life, or bring forth someone to help me to understand what I'm going through at this time. And literally in that moment of me, being social and actually going out into the world and actually being a person who displays character or kindness, you naturally run into people who are like-minded individuals as yourself, or intellectual individuals as yourself, and they bring up God before you. So that's literally how this encounter kind of happened, and from there it just worked. Yeah. But I do want her to just have a little rundown of herself. Just introducing her. I want you to introduce yourself. And I just want you to, let us know a little bit about Spiritually Fit, or any projects or businesses that you have. And also you can leave your social media handles and different things like that.
Okay, so I am Ashley G, officially known as 𝒮𝓾𝓾𝓾𝓾𝓾. I started 𝒮𝓾𝓾𝓾𝓾𝓾 back in 2020, which started out as a lipstick line. Honestly, it wasn't for the financial aspect. It was just that I had so much idle time because I worked for the state of Maryland and we were closed, and I was still getting paid, thank God. Mm-hmm. And I just wanted something to do because I've always been into fashion. Like, I've always liked lipstick. I've always liked clothing. And so I started 𝒮𝓾𝓾𝓾𝓾𝓾 in 2020. I hooked up with a young lady named Cole the designer. She started, she had an Instagram as well. And I'm not quite sure if she basically started Cole Designer, but I reached out to her and I gave her a vision. And we started it. She made me a website. She made me a logo, things of that nature. So I basically started it off of lipstick. A year or two went by, it was flourishing. I mean, basically, I kind of really blew up on social media. Mm-hmm. And then, bam, the devil hits me. My page was blocked. Come to find out that Instagram blocked my page because I'm assuming someone that either followed me or didn't agree to what I was doing got my page blocked. So, bam, I started from zero. Now we're in 2022. Started another page for 𝒮𝓾𝓾𝓾𝓾𝓾, and that began to flourish as well. Again, my customers began to follow me, and of course, in that moment, I was very, very depressed because I felt like I don't bother anyone. Mm-hmm. I'm doing my thing. God is providing the resources. I mean, I was going to classes, I was going to business classes and things, just trying to find out how to really conduct business. Bam, again, the devil hits. That page gets blocked. So I sat out for a minute and I said, God, is this something that you don't want me to do? Because at this time, I felt like, I was really doing very well. Mm-hmm. Financially, I was doing very well. Right. I even interacted with people that I didn't even know. Mm-hmm. Like, people would just start following me and they, I heard about you, or Miss Ashley, I heard about you, and things of that nature. And I started to build relationships with people outside of the business aspect. Mm-hmm. And again, the page gets blocked?
So I've heard you said honestly 3 major things. The first major thing that you said was vision. So when it comes to business, I had this, which is the Hot Out podcast, and I also am trying to develop 2 other businesses. And, sometimes people say, and I think of those pages that were either blocked or, removed or what have you, as things that are trying to block you from your destiny or what you're trying to get done. It's always when you're closest to your gift or closest to what's destined for you or what's meant for you that things always begin to happen.
Absolutely.
And it's always when you're the closest that or thriving or, business is booming or you're at a high where it'll always be something to try to get you to stop. I think that's really the best way that I can put that. There's always something that tries to get you to stop. And as far as vision goes, back to vision, I was sitting literally yesterday talking to my sister about, the things that I wanted to do and how sometimes I feel overwhelmed because of the simple fact of I feel like, okay, I'm at a point now where I need a team or I need an assistant. And I sometimes don't know how to allow the load to be on other people because of how I like to have certain things done. But also I want to be sure that who I put on my team or who I have that's assisting me or helping me, I want us to have the same vision as far as growing or building or trying to establish what I see. Because sometimes people don't know what you see. But, I think the greatest thing is as long as you have the vision, God wouldn't give you a vision if it wasn't so. That's how I feel. If you can see it, if it's something that you can visually see within your mind, then it's obtainable. And so I think that's something that I always think about because for me, people are like, oh, well, when are you dropping another episode? When are you doing this? When are you doing that? For me, I'm a creative. I'm an artist. I don't want to rush work. I don't want to just put out anything just for the sake of putting things out. That's just not how I move. And sometimes we have to understand that as a creative or as an artist or whatever gift you do, whatever business you have, sometimes you have roadblocks. Sometimes you have creative blocks within yourself. So for me, it was like, okay, I literally did a men's segment and that was really a really good segment. But people were looking to see okay, when is your next drop? For me, I was burnt out socially. I was burnt out. I just needed a break. And sometimes it's hard for us to try to establish boundaries or establish ourselves with business or different things that we're doing when it's I'm trying to have myself here, there, everywhere. And it becomes overwhelming. So I had to really learn that it's okay to take breaks. If you know the content that you're creating is good, you know that the work that you put in and the hard work that you put in is great work, then I think that that's all that matters. So I had a friend tell me because I was in my early on when I this is almost a year and a half or maybe even 2 years of me having my podcast. I started with audio and then I went to visual, but I already knew the vision. I knew when I was doing the audio that this here is just my building blocks. Exactly. This is just my groundwork for what I really want to do. And it's more that I want to establish.
Absolutely.
So that's just a little bit, but I definitely thought those things stood out to me. Vision first, because if you have no vision, you don't know the direction that you're going in. But I definitely think that those things were put in your path because of sometimes when you're a person who's very spiritual or believing, I would say, let me not say spiritual. When you're a believer, okay? Because I don't want to use spiritual because spiritual can be a lot of different things.
It can.
So we're not going to use spiritual. When you're a believer of Christ, God sends, my bishop told me one time, who are you to think that you're going to walk this earth with no problems or no nothing? Who are you if Jesus is the one who walked this earth and was crucified? Who are you to think that you won't roam this earth and suffer the same things or go through something? So that helped me along the way with my walk to understand that we're here, but we're striving to be like Christ. And we're striving to move in Christ and be of Christ and be of his stature. And so there are days when pages will be blocked, pages will be deleted. But that's because God, when the devil knows the anointing that you have on your life, or even the gift of discernment that you have on your life, it makes it more difficult for you, because when it comes to other people, it's like, oh, it was so easy for them. Even for a believer, it looks so easy it looks so like they didn't go through nothing and they don't know what you've been through. But I'm gonna let you get in there, because I know that you've told me, you say often, I don't look like what I've been through.
So I say, let me piggyback on one. So I started Lips for Granted. Second page was blocked again. Third page, I started Spiritually Fit. Here we are. Just imagine starting a business and you are depressed with having absolutely everything. Having the money, business is thriving, your son is healthy, family is great, no issues. Cars driving fine. Actually went and bought a brand new car. I did. During the pandemic, everything was great. But I was depressed for 2 years. And so I'm really opening up. Nobody never knew I was depressed. But here's the thing, is that you can have absolutely everything, but you're missing one thing. And that was him. So what I did was, before I even restarted Spiritually Fit, because then I had an issue with that. So God said, sit down for a minute. I'm going to sit you down. And he does. He sits you down. And then I took some time off. And I'm telling you, I cried for days.
You know, the thing that you said to me, the thing that you just said was, the devil makes it seem as though you can have all the things that you need. But if he can get you in your mind, or get you in your finances, or get you somewhere where it makes it seems as though all is not well, or I'm not blessed.
Yes.
And
that's what I was missing. And I'm telling you, I can't even give you a time frame. It took so long, and I'm still in transition of getting my happiness back. Like right now as we speak, and nobody never knows what you go through. Unless you tell them. They can assume absolutely everything. Oh, she's fine. Ashley's fine. Oh, she's always smiling. She's always looking nice. But I'm hurting. So the other day I put on my Snap, I put, I'm hurting, but I'm thriving. That's me right now. So, and I don't tell a lot of people, you have to be very careful, because the devil is very busy sometimes, and you have to be very careful about who and what you say to people, especially when you think that they're your friends. They're not.
All right. So when I was planning this, how I came up with developing and creating boundaries, because like you said, the end of last year, I went through one of the most biggest tests of my life. And like you said, I was depressed. And I remember praying to God, because this situation had me so bound and so in my mind, that I had to pray for two things. The two things that I had to pray for was, God, guard my mind. And that's the most important part through depression, because
it is.
Even when I was 15, I was going through depression, because I was going through issues within my home. So I've been through a lot of life battles, life challenges, which made me stronger, which helped develop my character.
But can I stop you there? Unfortunately, sometimes when we go through things as children, that we don't get the proper help and needing that we need. And, and of course, as we get older, oh, it's fine. Oh, we brush it off. Oh, I'm a woman. No, you're really not.
Yeah.
You really need some help.
Yeah.
What I did is that when God sat me down after the second page was blocked, I sought help, which was a therapist. And I'm telling you, the first conversation, Caucasian lady, she loved me. She said, actually, I can never let you go away from me. Right. And I felt like I could be so open with her because she didn't know me. The people that know you are going to judge you.
I told my sister this, right? Because I'm just do this real quick.
Hurry
so
up.
I told my sister that I think that you need to go and get a therapist because you're telling me your situation, right? But it's different when you tell a stranger who you trust or who you feel comfortable with.
Or we think that we can trust.
Right. Agreed. But with me as your sister, because I know you, and ultimately people say, I don't judge. But when you know someone, you understand when you know, like, okay, this person has this habit or they do this or that, you do judge in a way. Or you do like, oh, well, she always say she gonna fix this and never do. Or she always say this and I don't see her making improvements. So we because this is our family.
It's a toggle.
Right.
So
we're trying to listen to what they're saying to us, but what they've shown us already kind of has us already in a judgment or in a bias type of mindset. So going to someone who can give you a different perspective outside of my perspective, who does not know you, is more beneficial to me.
Absolutely. And I have to brag a little bit about myself. I'm telling you, because I come into relationships with people that don't know me, that are much more willing to accept me for me at that moment versus a person who've known me forever. Right. And I know that I have an impact, and you should know when you leave a person, whether if it's telephone conversation, whether if it's eye-to-eye contact, whether if it's a date, they should be able to think about the relationship or friendship that you have with them when you guys depart. Right?
I swear, I wrote everything. I know this is divine and God because literally, right? I was, like I told you, I was writing this topic, creating and developing boundaries. And last night, writing my ideas. Everything that you're saying right now. So look, let me tell you how.
Once you texted, you told me exactly what it was going to be about.
So yes. So let me tell you how. Okay. So my book, I left it at work, right? And I was like, OMG. But what I do remember is the things that I was already going to talk about. But you already bringing up these things, it's just so crazy to me because, like I told you yesterday, I was sitting and thinking, because I think like it's good to take time for yourself, sit, think with yourself, in solitude with yourself, and in silence with yourself, to understand where you are, and just to organize your thoughts and your minds and your ideas. I think sometimes people make themselves so busy where they don't take time to identify who they are.
That's why people keep themselves busy, because they know that they have issues that they need to work on. And sometimes a lot of people are very scared to open up about the issue because it's going to unleash a lot of other things that they're dealing with, right? One issue unlocks another issue, unlocks another issue. Honestly, you have to get to the bottom, to the root of the issue of you.
So I wrote in the book, right? I said, before you can begin to make the changes or even establish any boundaries, you have to know who you are. You have to know who you are as a person to now know this is not what I want. This is what I want. This is what's for me. This is what's not for me. Until you can clean up yourself, you're not going to be able to do any work that you need to do. And you'll find yourself in the same situations because you haven't done the work. And like you said, what I've learned, I'm 26 now. I'll say when I was 18, 19, from now to then, I feel like you learn so many skills and you develop so many life skills, so many skills as a woman or a man, whoever, but you develop so many skills that teach you a lot of things about yourself within those years. And for me, I can definitely say that I think the biggest thing that I learned was closing my mouth. And I say that because when people enter or get to know me, I'm not an open book, but I'm social, I'm friendly, I'm nice. But for me, I reserve certain parts of myself for people who I feel are intentional with me, or I feel as though that they're friends.
Why? Do you think that they're going to judge you? Be honest.
I will, because I'm going to say, I think because of certain parts that I've seen, like you said, that you've seen in teenage years or childhood, I have not had good friendships with other women. So, sharing too much about myself, that's not something that I would rather or like to do, unless I feel like this is my ace. Like, this is my girl. I feel it. I feel like our relationship is where we're locked in, or where I feel her energy or her spirit or conversations we had, or because sometimes even years long and doesn't mean that you can trust a friend.
Not.
You understand what I'm saying? And I had to learn. I've cleaned friends out and developed new friendships and new bonds and created a new tribe with different people. And so the no new friends thing, I still love my old friends if I still have some around. But I'm open to having relationships with women and men that are healthy. But I think the biggest thing that you said as well with relationships and friendships, because I want to get back to that, because that was literally one of my points. Being intentional about who you allow in your life, who you allow in your space, is important. Also, I realized that when you no longer like share too much information with people, it's like
you're being weird or you're acting funny.
Right. But not even just that, it's like you realize who are your friends. That's what I would say. Because it's like, well, we don't have nothing to talk about.
You know, I think a lot of times with people, they feel like it's entitlement, right? A lot of my relationships over the years really didn't start being fragile until I was an adult, when I actually found out who I really was, right? They can only hold on to the old Ashley. The new one, they can't take. They can't take this one right now.
Exactly.
No, I'm so serious.
No, I get it. Because I'm so serious, because you begin to have boundaries. That's all. That's literally what that is.
So they can't take me now, and I know it, right? And sometimes I play the fool. Because I feel like I don't want to be alone. You know, I want that friendship. I want that companionship. But over the years, once I started Lips for Granted and the pages were getting blocked, and then I started Spiritually Fit, I lost a lot of friends, right? And even the friends that I think or thought was really, I mean, I'm talking about really genuinely that they can call on me conversation-wise. I mean, I'm always here. People know they can call me at any given time and I'm going to talk you through whatever you need to get through. That's just me. Yeah. Right? But now I have been in a space in the past 6 months where I have really been evaluating all of my relationships, right? Male and female. And I have a lot of guy friends that I'm not intimate with.
Listen, you said the thing, because I feel like God is calling his own into a space where you're observing your relationships. And I said, like, for me, I had made a post and said, always, like, whether in August or September, God always allows me to, like a month before my birthday, God always allows me to re-examine my life and reevaluate my life. So like you said earlier, God calls you into seasons of isolation where it's not because you did anything.
I told you that. Yes.
It's only because of the simple fact of, I need you to get this. I'm speaking to you, but so many different things are going on in the world or in your world, or there's so many opinions, so many voices, so many this, so many that I need you to quiet the outside noise, and I need you to get focused on me.
But you know what gets me with people too is that their isolation would be totally different from mine. My isolation is to get me together mentally, physically, and spiritually, so that I can be that great friend that I know that I can be to you, right? So when I isolate, it's a problem, right? Oh, she's weird. Oh, she's acting funny. But it's okay when you isolate from me for some that doesn't even matter, right? You know, and so over these past 6 months, I have really, really honestly, I'm really just genuinely getting my happiness back. When I say depressed with a capital letter, and having everything. Son is great. He's grown. I have a 22-year-old. Most people know that. And I'm telling you, it's always been me and him. But I'm telling you, I've always made means to make sure that I was that great parent that I know that I am. But I also had to take time away from him to be that mother and that woman that I know that I can be. So when I isolate, you know, of course, people, oh, she's weird. Oh, she's acting funny. No, I'm not. I'm just evaluating myself as much as I'm evaluating you, you know. So I have been in a season where I've been lonely. Yeah. This is my lonely season and I know it, but it's fine. The more I become spiritually involved with God and the Bible and reading the scripture, I'm telling you, because it's a lot of things that I didn't know. I had to really go into the Bible because I was broken. Yeah. I was. And I was broken looking good with white hair, red lips. Come on. Dressed to a T. Wearing spiritually fit every day.
You know, I think sometimes people do not know how hard it is when you're going through seasons. Because it's just a season. Everything. But it's just a season. And when you're going through seasons where, whether depression, sadness, loneliness, because I've experienced all of those this year. And like I said, I prayed to God for peace of mind, guard my mind, but I also prayed to God for joy. Where nights I could not sleep, where I was the thing was so on my mind. It was like, okay, God, I really do want to rest. Like, okay, I really don't want to think about this again. I really don't want to. I'm tired. And I said, I don't know when joy will return back into my life, God. But when it does, the day that it does, I'll thank you for it. I'll thank you for it. And I went to bed that night and I woke up feeling so relieved. When you cast your cares and all of your burdens and problems at his feet, he will remove it. But sometimes we get so not wanting to talk to him. But it's just like, sometimes I've learned that prayer works. Sometimes for me, I feel like what Sarah Jakes Roberts said, God, I just want to feel like I got it. Yeah. Okay. I just want to feel like I have it and I can do it and I'm able to do it and I'm able to do it. But like she said, if you were able to do it by yourself, you wouldn't need me. So then your walk, you realize you have to rely on the Most High. You realize I have to rely. It's nothing that I can do without God. So I went through that. And the day that I did receive joy back, I took a moment to pause. Because when we pray for things and we receive them, we have to take moments to thank God for them. Because we don't want to feel like we're ungrateful.
We don't want to feel like we're ungrateful. But in the season that when I was in transition, where I was losing people and I was losing friends and I've lost friends, I felt like God forgot about me, right? And I started to get not jealous, but I watched everybody around me who didn't have a relationship with him get blessed more than me.
What did I say earlier though? I literally said, that's exactly the things that were going on with your page were to stop your movement, stop your motion, stop your work, stop what you were doing. And it was done so that you could feel that way. And that's why it's important to pray over your mind, because of the simple thing, your thoughts are one of your most biggest, that's where the devil starts first.
He does. And I'm telling you, it's nights where, I mean, even now that I'm just thinking, even though things are well, I still worry, right? And again, I say, God, you forgot about me, you know, and he saves the best for last.
So, but also know that I know the plans that I have for your life. That was one of the scriptures. If God said it, it's so.
Yes. Absolutely.
If I see it, like I said, even with the vision thing, if I see it, God would not give me the vision If he told me to write the vision and make it plain, he wouldn't give me the vision without giving me the tools.
Yes.
And so even though these things are, your gift is so great that these things are happening because what God is going to bring you to and bless you with is going to be so big, and it's going to be on a public display for everyone to see, that they're not going to understand. They're going to think that you just walked into it, that it just happened overnight. But it's going to, no one knows, like you said, no one knows the hard work you put in. No one knows the time you put in. No one knows the effort, your work ethic, what you did. No one knows that but you. So what I've learned is to let people think what they want to think.
Absolutely. So here we are now. I started Spiritually Fit maybe about a year ago. Thriving again. Mm-hmm. Customers follow me again. They just found me, right? Bam. Page get blocks again. Now we're talking about page number 4. Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. I say, God, I'm just going to give up. That's what I said.
We have to learn the tactics of the devil.
We do. And I'm going to tell you something. I'm actually learning now. I did not know that he can really attack me this much.
Yeah.
Now, let me go back a little bit.
And it's because you made a choice.
I did. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to start from the beginning. I was born and raised in West Baltimore.
West Baltimore's finest. Okay.
I was born and raised in West Baltimore. I had come from a 2-family home until my parents decided that they wanted to separate and divorce.
Okay.
Right? And then over the time, gradually, I went to private school all my life. I really had the best childhood. Mm-hmm. Right? And I had a brother, and bam, 2008, my brother gets murdered. Mm-hmm. Right? I thought I was depressed then. Mm-hmm. I wasn't. Mm-hmm. I didn't get depressed until 2020. And it took for COVID to really start, for me to really rethink my whole entire life. Mm-hmm. Right? And I lost him, and I'm telling you, such a battle. We had the same parents. Mm-hmm. Right? And he left me with a nephew. And I think that was one of the greatest gifts that he could leave me. Our birthday is actually the same day. Such an amazing thing, right? You see how God works?
Yes.
And I'm telling you, we lost him, and my family just went into a transition, and everybody just basically kind of like went their own way. Mm-hmm. You know, as I began to grow and, you know, life went on, again, I say that I was depressed in 2020. So now it's like I'm like right now, as we speak, right now in this moment, I'm finally getting my happiness back. Mm-hmm. But God took so many people from me, mm-hmm. you know, and again, like I told you, I've lost friends. You know, I've changed jobs. Mm-hmm. I've been in transition. I even traveled for church. Mm-hmm. That was another thing, mm-hmm. right? So everybody knows my favorite pastor, 𝒮𝓅𝒾𝓇𝒾𝓉𝓊𝒶𝓁. Love him dearly. When he was in Baltimore, I attended his church at 𝒦𝒑 Temple, and I felt like I couldn't get that touch, mm-hmm. right? Of course, I mean, he had 3 services, 1 million people would attend mm-hmm. his church, and then COVID hit, and I'm telling you, God spoke to me. He said, "You got to do something different." Mm-hmm. And the difference for me was to travel, and I literally travel for church in Atlanta twice a month. And I'm telling you, when I started that, people started leaving my life. I'm telling you, because the first thing they thought was, oh, now she traveled for church.
But, you know, let me say this. When I'm listening to you, I'm listening to your entire story, everything you're telling me. It sounds very similar. No story is the same, but it mm-hmm. sounds very similar to my own. Mm-hmm. I told you guys my story. You know, I grew up in a 2-parent home. My parents divorced mm-hmm. when I was 15. And, you know, mm-hmm. it really changed me a mm-hmm. lot. And, but aside from those things, I think that at times in our walk, in your Christian walk, I think that people judge you or judge your relationship, or will try to challenge your relationship with God because of the things that they see.
They will.
And no matter what you see on my page, no matter what you see going on,
okay,
I will always say God is the head of my life. I'm a firm believer of Jesus Christ, and nothing will change that. But I also said that to say,
Even when we go outside,
nothing will change that. I don't care. You understand? Nothing. And
Absolutely.
I mean that. It to the very end. And, you know, that's where things get touchy, because I thought you said you was a believer of Christ.
Oh,
I thought you said that you worship this. I thought you said this. Listen, God says, touch not my anointed.
God.
So you don't know until you sit down and have a conversation with me spiritually about God. You will never understand
and God
and never know.
The man looks at the outer appearance, but God looks at the heart.
Exactly. So I don't worry about none of that, because I know what my relationship is. I know the challenges I face. I know how much I pray. I know how much I cry. I know who I talk to. Mm-hmm. I know the one who holds everything. So I don't worry about stuff like that. But I said that to say, I grew up in church. And for me, when I began to become a teenager, like my church, when I was growing up, thriving, a lot of people, second service, same thing. But when I became a teenager, things began to change. But that was also because the world was changing.
Yes.
So it was like, I seen youth before me, youth and young adult before me, love God, worship God. But I also seen the fall of churches within Maryland, because when I say I grew up in church, I've literally probably went to every church in Baltimore City. So for me, and I grew up in my home church, Faith Baptist Church on Ashland and Bond, North Bond Street. But when I began to be a teenager, I began to want a stronger relationship with God. So my home church numbers began to go, and a lot of different issues within the church, amongst the church, and with the elders of the church or the older people of the church, not understanding the youth of the church and where they are and not meeting them where they are. That was a big problem. And for me, it was like, with me growing up in church, I knew how church was supposed to feel.
Yes.
And so it's like, now I'm walking into churches, not even just my home church, but I'm walking into churches because I'm now trying to find a new church home. At like 15, 16, I'm now trying to find a new church home, but I'm trying to get that feeling. I'm longing to find that feeling that I know, that I'm used to, and I can go into a place where I'm worshiping God, where I feel comfortable worshiping God, where I'm being spiritually taught and spiritually educated. And I didn't feel like I was getting that at my home church and the different places that I was going. And it wasn't until I went to National Baptist Congress Convention, and they have them like at different locations. But it wasn't until I went there, and I didn't even want to go. I didn't want to go at all.
Why?
Like, I didn't want to go because what I thought about it, I was young, I was 15. I thought about it like, oh, this is a seminary. I'm going to have to sit all day through this. And me being young. But when I went and I realized